mass shooters. I welcome anybody to get on the chats and to talk about your opinion about gun regulations, gun safety, mass killers, mass active shooters, and what we can do about it. Please pardon me. I have to repeat this because when my videos upload, they're always like minutes or seconds late. So I thank you for your patience and your patronage. Again, guys, so I'm an armed security guard here to invite you to comment, to relay any information or opinions, factual, anecdotal, whatever, about your view or about guns, about gun safety, gun regulations, mass active shooters, serial killers, whatever. I really apologize, guys. My YouTube is pissing me off. So I'm saying the intro 3 times. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I appreciate your patient patronage regarding my very rudimentary channel. Comment in the chats. This is currently live. This is a little bit after midnight on Holy Saturday on Easter weekend of 2025. And we're here to discuss, I'm about to show you an expert talking about this and everything on my rudimentary channel. And we're going to talk about gun violence, gun safety, mass active shooters, your opinions on rights and freedoms or lack thereof regarding firearm purchases and owning a firearm. Okay, so thank you for the long intro. And I want to show you guys with something that I guess it's funny. It's not really, but this is a little bit off topic, but it's about guns. Okay, can you see this?
Like my demonstration, I want you guys. Alright. Is that a fucking 320?
Yep.
Alright. God damn it, dude. Get this guy to shoot their range. Don't bring it back on their end.
Now, this video has gotten a bit of a mixed reaction. There are those that have criticized the way the instructor handled this. It seems like his main concern was what kind of gun he was shooting, and not so much the safety of his students. Now, to be fair, the instructor has since posted a video going over the whole situation, talking about how after the video cuts, he stops the class and makes sure everyone's okay before calling a break. Now, there's those who, I'll be honest, do have a point in saying SIG needs to take full accountability and say, hey, look, we fucked up. There is no reason why any modern firearm in the year 2025 should be going off on its own.
Like my demonstration.
Yeah,
guys.
I don't know why people think that they're too good for Glocks. Glocks are the shit, man. If you follow my channel and you're new to like tactical survival, I always admonish people to get the Mossberg Maverick 88. It's very good for home defense. I will tell you the pros and cons about it. This video is about basically mass active shooters. We're going to see other people talk about it. And I invite anyone to give your critique, your opinion, your anecdotes, your facts about gun safety or any preventive measurements society as a whole or individuals can take against the potentiality of mass active shooters. And I will give you guys shout outs real quick. Let me get my other phone so I can actually see your comments. So we're going to discuss mass active shooters, okay? So that was a tangent. That had nothing to do with mass active shooters. That was about people who think they're too cool for Glock. So they want to get a Sig Sauer for some freaking reason. And see what happens when you try to be too unorthodox. If you're going to get a handgun, just get a fucking Glock. So I'm an armed guard, so maybe I have something valuable to say about prevention of gun violence, mass active shooters. Someone text me. Anyways, give me a second, guys, so I can actually read your comments. I thank you for your patronage, and you guys rock, dude. So anybody, go ahead and give your opinions or your facts regarding gun violence and gun safety. So Dahram Kushik, which is a cool name, says hi. How you doing? I'm gonna call you DK. Patrick asked me, am I a real cop? I'm an armed security guard. Honestly, like, all respect to police, us armed guards, us security guards in general, we're not here to give you a freaking ticket if you drive fast and shit like that. I'm luckily not doing any kind of gentrification patrol, acquiescing to Karen gentrification patrol, like, oh no, 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 it's 9:50 p.m. You shouldn't be listening to fucking loud music. My cloth, my trade, doesn't do any of that. You own property, you want that shit protected by someone who's willing to put their life at stake? That's the guild I come from. You know why? Because risking my life to make $1 is a lot easier than getting laid off from welding or construction. I wish I was blue collar hero. That's another story. But yes, I really am an armed guard. I don't need to try to impress anybody with, oh man, I have like a manly jaw. I don't care. I do martial arts. I have some musical talent. I don't need to make my channel about that. So other people commented. Wepa says, dude, Wepa, you're a real man or a badass person. I wish I lived in Texas. Intel 411 says, I got shot with a 9mm through the left leg. Go ahead and relay, man, if that was a Parabellum or like a hollow point, you know? My God, I'm sorry you had to get shot. Princess says, hi, Princess. Oh, why do I keep on blinking? Probably because I drink a lot of coffee in my life and got hit in the head a lot. I used to do a lot of hard sparring. I used to go like this and people would jab, boom, boom, right in the forehead. And I would go through them, push them up against the fence or the cage and whatever. So I've been hit in the head a fucking lot and I've drank way too much coffee. So someone said they got shrapnel. Man, I lost my own live feed. Wepa said I got a little shrapnel. Hey, Wepa, God bless you, man. If you're a veteran and all that, you're more aptitude or more qualified to speak on this subject than I am. And someone 411 says, it was a regular shot, no hollow point. It was a grazed wound. Well, thank God. I hope you have your leg. I hope you still have your leg and all that. So we're going to watch a video from Mike Glover about basically the most recent school shooting. Okay, and while you guys are here, let me please tell you real fast before I can find this video. Check this out. Let me.
Didn't really know what I wanted out of life early.
So recently, a coworker here, right? Since I'm like, people know I'm libertarian or whatever, they mistook me for a liberal. And he comes up to me and the other fellow guard, and he's showing this news clip that he had. And the news clip was basically dude, I'm not even fucking lying. I'm sorry, I can't relay the source, and you have to take my anecdotal story at face value. But he's showing a news clip from whatever CNN trash he watches, and it's some white dude. The dude showing me this isn't white. The dude, the newscaster, he's like, something about like, we need to make everybody not have guns. We need to make it illegal to purchase Armalites and assault rifles, and we need to shit on the Second Amendment. He might as well have been saying this. I'm paraphrasing, it's not verbatim. It's always white kids who shoot everything. It's always like some kind of legally registered gun that they're doing these heinous acts with. And we need to take everybody's guns. And the dude telling us this, me and the other armed guard, we were kind of like, hey bro, you're talking to the wrong crowd, man. Bad people don't play by the rules. Bad people are always gonna have guns. See, I don't want to brandish and shit. I have a fucking, glickety glock on me. And by California regulations, that's only allowed to have 10 rounds in the magazine. Do you think that the perpetrator of violence, who has all day to plot and plan your demise, who has some kind of mental hang up on so committed to fucking cause death and destruction, do you think they care about gun-free zones? Do you think they care about abiding by the rules? Do you think their Glock doesn't have more than 10 rounds? They don't give a shit. San Jacinto, California, July of 2024, we had an active shooter just shooting in the freeway, and he clapped one person driving, coming home from work, right? And a person like me who would be willing to interdict that situation because it gives me clout, it gives me notoriety, it looks good on a resume. Guess what? I can't, even though I was one block away and I usually hang out at that donut shop that he was like only 40 or 80 feet away from it. I wouldn't have been able to help anybody because in California, when I'm 10-7, when I'm off duty, you got to take your firearm, you have to shove it up your ass and lock it away, and you got to take the magazine out and go like this and throw it like a grenade. In California, if you're going to travel with a firearm, you have to have it locked away, right? Like, not just, you have to have it in a safe that's locked. You have to have the, through the chamber and all that, locked. You have to have the magazine in a separate container, locked. It's stupid. I wanted to buy a Kel-Tec, like a carbine or something. They made it so stupid that to put another magazine in there, you had to use a screwdriver. So what I'm just trying to say is when good people need to use these tools of self-protection for their livelihood, it's locked away, it's shoved up your ass. You're a victim. In California, you have a duty to retreat, even out of your own home. Me, I had to abide by these cucky-ass rules because it could be in my ass. Even if I clapped somebody and it was obviously self-defense, if you're in my situation and that happens, you're going to get arrested. You're going to have to call a lawyer. You're going to have to get your car towed. You are going to miss work just for legally defending yourself. And it's stupid. It's ass backwards. And the guy who was trying to tell this horse shit to me and my other fellow guard, they're too ignorant. They're too indoctrinated. They're too stupid to understand what the plight I just told you, the common sense rebuttal that I have to that I just relayed to you. They're too ignorant to understand that, and the scary thing is fuckers like that are having billions of fucking kids, dude. They're never gonna teach their kids about who George Washington was, what the value of the Constitution was, how important Jesus is. They're gonna watch like Taylor Swift. They're gonna jack off to Netflix. They're gonna have shit out of wedlock. They're gonna fucking have their government cheese. And they're pro-fucking-liferating, dude. They're the ones that are having all the babies and shit, dude. I'm just warning you guys. Traditional America, I'm a doom-saying prophet that don't be so politically correct. Say the fucking obvious. Because this this is a permeation of retardism that's gonna overtake this great nation. Let me try to say let me try to look at some comments. And Wepa says, my blackout AR-15 goes with me everywhere. Yeah, because you live in Texas, man. That's so badass, man. You're a lot cooler than me. Wepa says, I sleep with my door open, wishing an intruder came in. That's funny. Be careful, because supposedly that's like coercing or inviting violence or some stupid shit. Just like you're not allowed to set bear traps on your own property, even though some hoodlum is trying to spray paint your Tesla and steal your Amazon Prime package. You're not allowed to fucking set a booby trap for that shit. Intel 411 said he just got PSD because he got shot. Wepa's a retired Marine from Texas. You're a real badass. Princess asked how old I am. I'm pretty old and I'm furtive of my identity. I'm pretty much almost Generation X age. So anyways, guys, without further ado, let me find this Mike Glover video. Let me turn this up. If you want, I don't care if you ditch my channel. I understand. The video from Mike Glover, but I'm going to comment on this or whatever, like it matters. But let me reconfigure this. Mike Glover, who's like a retired vet, and he teaches CQB, and he's a really renowned figure on how to prevent, circumvent, or be ready for gun violence. And let me look at my history. Let me set this camera around, and you guys can either watch my video of his video, or I'll just relay it to you right now. So hold on, stupid commercial. So Mike G is his channel, and the whatchamacallit, the video is called FSU, that's Foxtrot Sierra Union, FSU, and the Texas stabbing and self-defense case. So he's going to talk about that Metcalf kid that just got stabbed, but I think before that he goes on into you guys red pill me about it. I don't watch the news. I see everything really late. Excuse me. So I figure there's been a mass shooting lately. This video is about 17 minutes, and let me set everything up. Let me turn my speaker back on. Let me turn it off. Let me see if anybody. Wepa has a Raptors are badass, man. I was hiking and freaking Bee Canyon in San Bernardino National Forest, or Idlewild-ish, or whatever. And this raptor, there's terrain there, there's topography that you just can't traverse in a normal car, and everybody quits going up this when the hill continues, and that raptor just freaking like bulldozed through everyone. And that guy had a badass day. If I had my own way, I would have a badass lifted truck too. But about Wepa saying that that he basically sleeps with Armalite. Yeah, man, I basically I might as well have a Glock for a bar of soap, dude. Like, I trip out on other men. There's so much men, the excuses for males that live nowadays. They're just sitting there watching Netflix. They can't wait till their wife goes to sleep so they can whack off to godless filth. But guys like Wepa's cooler than me. But guys like us, man, you're not gonna catch us slipping, dude. Because for example, I had this girlfriend in Big Bear Mountain, right? And she was scared. I had this girlfriend and she was beautiful, only because her boyfriend got out of prison. He's very like abusive and shit like that. And dude, that dude is not gonna fuck with her, dude. Like, oh my god, you get the point. So I mean, I kind of freak people out. I'm bathed and festooned with weapons everywhere. And I thought you're a martial artist. Why do you need a gun, sissy? Because bad people have guns. It's retarded. Please help me get out of California. I should make a GoFundMe. It's retarded. And so that was the last comment I see so far. And let me try to situate this, and we'll live happily ever after. Of course, it turned off. Give me a second, guys. So again, you can either just watch that video directly, Mike Glover, FSU, something, or we can just party together. And so let me see. I guess speaker should be on, and I will adjust this. Why is there no volume? Sorry, guys. Let me start over. My channel is very rudimentary, so I don't have the gadgets and stuff.
And I'm not sure.
Oh, it's a commercial or something. Let me. Oh no. Okay, hold on. He shows. I'll just shut up, guys. I hear that, Wepa. Everybody's moving to Texas. I know some people.
Look, the video you just saw is hard to watch for many reasons. One, the video was filmed from an FSU student, and I'm not sure why she was filming. I'm not going to question that. She's a victim. She's in a difficult situation. Not going to question that. What she captures is more importantly the story and the point of our conversation, which is this acronym and emergency procedure, run, hide, fight, that most institutions have adopted. When you do it right, you include run, hide, fight into context and conversation, into training protocols, rehearsals, practice, integration of law enforcement and their responses, because the two go hand in hand. You can't have an acronym for a person who has no clue what's happening, who's just following a prescription, a protocol for survival, and not include what to expect on the other side of this as your emergency responders respond. Characteristically in the video, there are a couple of things that stand out to me. She's recording, that stands out. In the recording, you hear people that are scared. I understand that. I understand how fear works. I understand that many of the students that were hiding thought for sure they were going to die. Fear and impending doom. In the video, you also hear students communicating to loved ones, whether it's on their cell phone or on text, they're engaged in that. And fourth, very distinctly, you hear the intercom communicating, whether it's an emergency notification, an automated message for that emergency notification. It's giving instructions one way over the intercom. Now, if you were to take a guess at how big Florida State University is, having never been there, what would you think? How many buildings? How many acres or square miles? Well, your guess would probably be light. 403 buildings on the main campus, spread across 485.7 acres. It's the reason why FSU has their own police department. This is known as a crisis. And specifically in that crisis, there would be a crisis site, or whereby the shooter is active. Because on one hand, when you say run, what are you implying to a civilian who has no training? Well, you're trying to keep it simple, stupid. It's the reason in the military and the infantry, we have battle drills. We call them immediate action drills. FM 7-8 battle drills, infantry battle drills. I would expect my fire team would immediately know what to do in a react to contact drill, because it's ingrained in them in infantry basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Typically, when reacting to contact, as they're being fired upon, move to cover and concealment while trying to identify where the threat is at, while bounding, while they're trying to engage or suppress the enemy. That would happen in a couple seconds, and it would happen as an immediate action with no contemplation. In additional cognitive cases, identify where that threat's at and announce it. 2 enemy personnel, 12 o'clock, 200 meters, something like that. Now, why is that important for a civilian? Because, well, civilians aren't trained. The entirety, philosophically, of an emergency procedure is to reduce the amount of time it takes to think through a protocol and instead act. So that's what we're doing. In your head, imagine you're a civilian, you know nothing about what's going on, and you say, what do I do? Remember, run, hide, fight. Okay, I run. Where are you running? Well, if there's 403 buildings and you're in one of the buildings, spread across 485.7 acres, and you get an emergency notification on your phone, which is the notification of contact, that is your react to contact drill. You're sitting in a classroom, you look at your phone, and it says active shooter on campus, and you default to your acronym, except you might be in a building that's 400 acres away from where the shooter is at. When you're in this building, Again, this is institutional protocol, and you're running, the next part of the acronym is hide. That implies, well, no, I run and then I hide. I'm running to hide. And I have taught active shooting protocols with law enforcement where the people that were part of the institution thought that was what they were doing. That is a massive error. Now, there's two sides to this story that I'll give you. On the law enforcement side, one of the reasons why it's important as a protocol for people who are in harm's way to bed down, to barricade in place, is because first responders are trying to manage where the bad guy is. In the right protocol, from the right guys, not Uvalde, but the right guys, they're going to go to the sound of gunfire. And the more people you have running around in chaos, the more issues that you're going to create for the first responders, especially in those precious moments. There has to be a balance. But here's what I'll tell you in my unsolicited advice. You have a very short period of time and duration based on the crisis kicking off, the emergency notification and the announcement to get away as quickly as possible. You sitting underneath a desk, hiding in a classroom, is your false sense of security that the door can't be breached.
Send our laser gonna cut you.
In Virginia Tech, it was breached. There is no scenario where in an immediate action, there is a period of time where it's appropriate, but in the immediate action, there is no time where it's appropriate to be on your cell phone. You moving your physical body off the crisis site is more important than anything else. We learned this lesson in the case studies that came out of the Las Vegas shooting at the Mandalay Bay. People who stopped and bedded down became victims. You might have a shooter that's in an elevated position. You might have a shooter who lays down a base of fire, who uses grazing fire techniques and tactics to create as many casualties as possible. So bedding down and seeking cover or stopping and hiding is not going to be the best protocol. I beat that dead horse. So what is the protocol? By all means necessary, run. But don't run to hide. Run to run until you're out of harm's way. Run as far and as fast as you can. If there's obstacles in your way, go around the obstacle or go through the obstacle. If you're in a classroom that's being forced to be barricaded and there's an opportunity, throw a desk out of the window and move out of that window in those precious moments where immediate action is necessary. Now, I'm not talking about you waited 10 minutes, first responders, special response, and special weapons and tactics teams are migrating through the school. I'm not talking about that part of the scenario. There might be a time and place where it's best to bed down and allow them to deal with the threat. But even then, in very specific instances, there are opportunities to bug out, escape, and save your own life. You have to be the person that switched on, not following the pack and using your best judgment. You could be in a classroom. You could be bedded down and you could look around. You could gain some situational awareness on the circumstance and see an opportunity to escape into a parking lot, potentially into your vehicle. Take that potential opportunity. Also understand that law enforcement has a job to do. If you're a person coming out of that building, your hands need to be up and you need to be moving like you're not a threat. All right, what we know about this case so far is this guy's 20 years old. He showed up with the intent of obviously doing harm. We have 2 people that are killed. Prayers go out to the victims and their families. It's tragic that this happened, but we know there's 2 victims and about 5 people who are injured, including some that are in critical condition. Apparently, his mother is a deputy sheriff. He was even involved in youth law enforcement officer programs, and he ended up using his mother's ex-service weapon. Over the course of this woman's career in 18 years, she's going to life cycle her service or duty weapon, and there was probably an opportunity to buy it back. She bought it back, and it was her personal weapon that he ended up using. Already, the left-wing media has already politicized this event. In fact, on CNN last night, I saw somebody being interviewed blaming the Trump administration for the shooting that took place at FSU. All right, moving on, we have this situation with these two kids, these two 17-year-old kids in Texas get into a confrontation. One of the students allegedly pushes one of the students and winds up stabbing in the chest, and the kid dies. He not only dies, he dies in the arms of his twin brother, and this takes place in the morning at a school event. Now, why has this case already become a national headline? Well, it's easy. It's a race issue, because that's what the media is already reporting. Already, the media and the interwebs are already putting out that this kid, because he wears camouflage and is white, is tied to somehow white supremacy. I mean, check out this clip from Megyn Kelly.
Unfortunately, the internet has done its thing, and they have tried to paint the victim here, Austin Metcalf, as a white supremacist, for which there is zero support. It's ridiculous. They're circulating pictures of Austin and his twin brother wearing camouflage and holding guns, like going out hunting, juxtaposed with Anthony in a suit, and this very popular guy on X calls him a suspected white supremacist. A suspected white supremacist? No, I mean, honestly, you could get sued for this, sir.
All right, so Carmelo Anthony's legal defense team is already saying this is a racial issue and that his client is a victim of the system. Carmelo Anthony says it was a clear-cut case of self-defense. Now, this is what's scary about this entire case. As people are talking about this online, one of the major issues is it shows the continued divide racially amongst Americans, where $400,000+ were raised for this kid's defense fund. It's going to be a self-defense case. So they're going to have a trial. They're going to have a jury. And the major concern is they're going to reestablish and change the precedent for self-defense. Let me give you a little analysis from a legal expert on self-defense, specifically in Texas. Let's roll the tape.
Now, what's really it's going to come down to, and I disagree with the guy who said this is not a self-defense case. Yesterday, I think he said it. This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor. Was it an aggressive act for him to go up and say, get away from the tent? Did he do more than that? My understanding was maybe he touched him and put hands on him. Granted, that makes the decedent in this case maybe the initial aggressor. But you really still then have to look at whether or not Carmelo Anthony responded with appropriate force, he used a deadly weapon, and whether or not he was in imminent fear of great bodily injury. That's the standard in Texas and most every state to determine whether or not his actions, the way he perceived him, the way Carmelo Anthony perceived him when he took out that knife and stabbed him.
All right, so the question is it proportionate? If a kid pushes you, do you have the right to stab them in the heart and kill them? Of course not. I think every self-defense expert or just some common sense would tell you that's not how this works. But here's the problem. It's a jury of his peers. He's going to be tried as an adult. They're going to have a jury pool that potentially is going to weigh in and say, just like the expert said, I don't care. If this kid felt like his life was in danger, this is Texas. He has the right to self-defense, and this kid might get off. In fact, based on the volatility this case has already created, I'm going to make the prediction that this kid's going to get off. Why would I say that? Well, we already have a precedent. There's a case that took place at a protest where a military member driving part-time in Uber was confronted with a protester who was at a BLM protest, who happened to be white. His girlfriend was black. He had an AK-47. He approached the person with an AK-47 that happened to be thinking they were defending his life. He shoots the guy with the AK-47 and he goes to prison for murder. Yeah, well then you would say that that's the opposite here. It's not the opposite. It's the same cultural bias and the volatility that we are dealing with in this entire nation. The rules and the law are not black and white. And I'm being a little facetious there because this is going to play out very differently than we think. Lastly, let's get into this weird situation that happens in Belize. Let's roll the tape.
Police say an American citizen hijacked a small plane at knife point. Here's ABC's Matt Rivers.
Hi, I'm Prenuvo, a revolutionary proactive health MRI scheme.
And I'm a frustrated patient whose calf pain after one... Tonight, the dramatic scene on a runway in Belize. Passengers running away from a small plane as authorities with guns race toward it. On board, an alleged hijacker who was a U.S. citizen shot dead by a passenger with a gun.
New at 3 p.m., an absolutely wild story out of Belize. An American military veteran was shot and killed after authorities say he hijacked a small passenger plane. 14 passengers and 2 crew members were on board that flight. Police say the suspect, identified as Atkinyella Taylor, stabbed 3 people, including a pilot. A passenger who was licensed to carry a firearm then shot Taylor. With all that going on, the plane did land safely. The motive for the hijacking is under investigation.
There's a couple things that are very weird about this. The first thing that's weird is they immediately release the information and say this guy's a veteran. Typically, they don't put out veteran status or that type of information unless it's relevant to the circumstance, and it seems irrelevant to the circumstance because he was just a tourist on a tourist visa visiting Belize and winds up taking hostages in a commercial flight, albeit a small commercial flight. He's taken hostages. He also ends up stabbing 3 people, which is reported, but one of the people on the plane has a gun? That part I don't understand. And so the totality of the circumstance is very bizarre to me because I'm like, why are there passengers on Belize flights that are allowed to carry firearms? Was he police? Was he an American federal employee? Like, why was he carrying a firearm? Like, I don't understand what was going on, why they would label him as a veteran, as the initial reports lined out. And I'm glad there was somebody armed on the plane, but that is not typical. Like, most countries in the world on commercial flights are not allowing people to be armed. Now, there are programs where pilots are allowed to carry with specific training and protocols. And there's obviously a U.S. Air Marshal program, but I just find it weird that a person on this 14-passenger plane just happened to be carrying, and they announced this person was a U.S. military veteran that winded up stabbing people trying to get out of the country. His ultimate goal was to get out of the country and to get away from it. Guys, I'm doing an underground episode of this on Patreon, talking about things mostly that I can't talk about on this channel. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the feedback. Peace out, guys.
Are you tired of making pennies as a builder while the companies you work for make hundreds of thousands? It's time to take control of your future and get your California contract.
All right, guys, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is experience from an armed guard. Like, if you wanted to have an armed guard at your schools or whatever this happened, the difficulties or the things that ensue about this, okay? My relief is coming at 0600. I don't know if he wants to weigh in on this. I want to make a part 2 and interview him. There's a lot more experience than me about this. And long story short, when he was an armed guard for high school, they put him in they call it continuation schools, where the bad kids, like where they send the bad kids out to go to high school. And here's the problem about getting a valuable armed guard who is really going to commit his life, put his life on the line for duty, and actually care about protecting your kids, and it's worth his time in the job. Now, of course, ideally, you should have police officers patrolling your kids' high schools. When I was going to high school back in the Pleistocene age, okay, we did have an officer who would patrol in and out of that school. Like, I don't know, go get donuts or go patrol some other community, then come back and then go get more donuts or do whatever he's doing, then come back. And I want to tell you that the emphasis on this officer being present at that school was more about preventing or bringing back students who were ditching school. It was more of a truant officer. It was more of a tardiness off the what a truancy when you ditch school and you fucking leave school. His job seemed way more toward going and fetching the kids who were at the local record store or at the 31 Flavors or at the mall or some shit. It seemed like his job criteria and emphasis was more about bringing back bad kids who are ditching school. It's just gentrification patrol. All it was is it's just the stores that had these kids hanging out. They didn't want loiterers. They didn't want hoodlums. They want hoodlums or loiterers hanging out somewhere with absolute spending no money. Okay, so that was my experience going when I was a high school kid with the officers there. Wepa says it gives you entry to ports and airports clearances. When do I have a TSA card? I have a real ID. I'm not that kind of armed guard, guys. I don't guard airplanes. I don't really want to disclose what I'm doing out here. But there's a valuable warehouse out in the California desert, and they need someone who's going to sacrifice his life and be here like literally all day. I've had work days where no one's come to relieve me because this is out in the middle of nowhere, and I've worked over 26 hours straight. I haven't gone to a party. I haven't gone to a concert. I haven't done a lot of cool things in at least 4 years to hold down this job. Okay, so I'm that kind of guard. Okay, but I'm not claiming to be a professional or anything. I'm relaying you guys to professionals. Mike Glover and my relief at 0600, if he wants to come on a live with me later or part 2 of this, he has a lot of experience. And what I'm arguing right now is, if you're going to have an armed guard at your high schools to protect your kids, what's the pros and cons and the things that you have to worry about, okay? What's going to make that security officer really want to put his life on the line and guard your kids? Because he quit though. He's a very good guy, okay? He gave a shit about doing his job, and when COVID made him laid off at his job, he was just like, I'm not coming back. Because they made him like a Dr. Phil. They made him like an improv dad. He got spit on. He almost got stabbed. He got punched right in the face from these stupid hoodlums. They made a good guard hate his job. Now again, ideally, you should have police patrolling in and out of your school community. I think they already do, but if you're going to have a dedicated security service, right, from the private sector or whatever, guarding your kids, the schools need to understand that armed guards are not Dr. Phil. We're not conflict manager. We're there to prevent active shooters, stabbings. We're there to interdict assault, okay? And they were having him be like Mr. Conflict Manager, Mr. Bouncer. The kids knew that he's not allowed to touch them. You're not allowed to tackle them. You're not allowed to hit them back. You're just there as a fucking punching bag and a literal spit on, and it wasn't worth his time. Okay? These are really bad kids. And I got hot sauce in my eye. And they made him hate his job. And another thing I would say is, if we're going to have a job, who am I? Okay? This is just my anecdotal opinion, that if you want to have dedicated security service at your job, I believe that if that certain guard fails to do his duty in the line of fire, he should be prosecuted. You can't just I got into security because I can't break my back anymore. I wanted to be a machinist. I can't do it. I can lift weights and exercise. I could spar for 10 minutes. Looking down all day, I could relay. Machining, welding, and all that is really hard on your body. And anyways, security, I had to get into security. It chose me. It was always there. I'm not like, just, let me put on this Halloween outfit and try to make chicks think I'm sexy in a uniform or some shit. I miss going to concerts and having weekends off. Oh well, you have to survive. So again, my coworker who has a lot more experience than me, they made him have to get involved in the students' drama and all their stupid mess. He's telling me that he's having girls coming up to him and try to, hey, how do you think I look? Like a picture of them and like oh, he's like a picture of them in like skimpy outfits, trying to get him for like some kind of sexual harassment. He's having stupid gangster kids like, I'll F you up, you can't do nothing to me. You know what I mean? And then he's having like other faculty members like trying to treat him like a freaking bellboy and a piss on, right? And he said it got to the point that one time this hoodlum like socked him in the face and went running off or something to ditch school. And he said something like, they were like, why didn't you go tackle him or whatever? He's like, the last time I did that, I almost got sued. So basically, I'm here saying it's ideal that you have police officers that patrol your school grounds like the whole tenure that school activity is open for business or whatever, okay? Ideally, but I don't know why. I'm assuming that exists somewhere. If not, how are these active shooters getting away with that so much, okay? And then when I was 16 years old, the officer at the school, we see him a little bit, he's gone. We see him a little bit, he's gone. It got to the, I realized he's only there to make sure we're attending school. We can't go to McDonald's down the street. We can't go to Radio Shack. We can't go to the record store because he's going to show up there and he's going to force us to go back to school. It's just, that's what I'm trying to say, man. I respect police, but they're gentrification patrol there to oblige to fucking Karen. We got caught and had to be taken back to school because the owners of the business that we were hanging out was like, oh, we have a minor here that's not spending money, he's just hanging out. Please get him the F out of our business. And then there's Mr. freaking Officer taking us back to school. It seemed like he wasn't there whatsoever to have any kind of liability for safety. And I would argue that is purposefully designed because somebody in the government, George Soros or something, he wants active shooters to shoot at your kids and shit like that. Because they demonize gun owners. They're always like, now, the shooter was white, and they had a legally purchased gun that they stole from their parents, and that's why we need to violate the Second Amendment and take all your guns. It's the same narrative all the time. If they really cared about kids' safety, why do they need to take your guns, and why is it police always at your schools? Currently in California right now, a former UFC champion named Cain Velasquez, okay? He's facing 20 to 40 years in prison because some chomo, some weirdo, touched his kid at a daycare. Cain Velasquez, touched his kid at a daycare. He went to jail for 2 days and got parole or free or let go or some shit. So Cain Velasquez goes chasing after this chomo with a shotgun. And he did some, public recreational shooting against said chomo. And this chomo is still free. Cain Velasquez is facing 20 or 40 years in prison. That's 20 or 40 years of forced celibacy and not seeing your kids grow up and not making money for your family, and basically mandating that your wife have to find another man to take care of her because you can't make money. You're not allowed to be a man. But this chomo gets to go fucking free? They really care about your kids' safety? So taking your guns is gonna make your fucking kids safer? If you fuck your taxes over, you might go to prison for 20 years or whatever. But if you touch a kid, you get an ankle bracelet, you get let go to go back to your family. Come on, guys. They don't give a fuck about your kid's safety. But the only thing that I'm ranting about, let me see if anybody else commented real quick, is if you're going to have dedicated security for your schools and protect your kids, I'm trying to tell you the dilemma of how hard it is to incentivize a private sector guard to really be there, willing to die for your kids, okay? And I don't know why the comments are not showing, guys, so I don't want to be rude. Okay. Wepa says, Uvalde, Texas, 60 cops over an hour, disgusting. So there's a lack of police, you're saying, boss? Look into it, my bro. What's he saying? It gives you, thank you. I thank you for the admonishing to get TSA. The last time another guard here, he was gonna, because I'm not very tech savvy, he was gonna help me do an application for some kind of security, I think with airplanes or something that's like private sector hired but government inadvertently, a real fucking career. And he goes, are you COVID vaxxed? Are you vaxxed? Are you jabbed? I was like, no. And he just like closed his fucking shit and goes, well, you can't get the job. I'm not getting vaxxed. I don't give a fuck. You know, let me not be rude and see what Wepa said. And then let me continue and rant on about, I think that was the last comment. Thank you for your input, Wepa. Everybody listen to him. He's a veteran. He's from Texas where they produce real men. So, but again, guys, like, if, I don't know why there's no police present at your school at all times, if the government really fucking cared about your kids' safety. I don't know why they don't have professional police officers posting up at your schools the whole time kids are going in and out of the school, especially during peak hours where mass shooters want to just, spray and pray, right? So again, let's touch bases. When I was going to school, the only intermittent police officer we had was more for about truancy than obvious protection, okay? My coworker, who has a lot more experience than me, said guarding schools sucked because they treated him like shit, they paid him like shit, they didn't have him just patrol and look out. He had to get involved in the student drama and literally get punched, slapped, and spit on, and for not even barely a living wage in this, not even a living wage in this economy. I mean, that's gonna make some guards antisocial, man. You know what I mean? Okay, and then I touched basis on, don't know why it's not professional police officers that are constantly 1097 or arrive, or their 20, their post is not your freaking schools. I don't understand that. So I guess the schools don't want to fork out the extra money to hire dedicated private security. I'm going to give you my anecdotal expertise. If I was guarding your schools, okay, I'm not selling myself, okay, I love martial shit, okay, I love things that have to do with the notoriety of like facing some kind of danger to get hurt, right? Because it's a lot easier than blue collar jobs I wanted to do. I kept getting laid off, and that's a different story. So a person like me, if all I had to do, my whole job was only staying alert, patrolling, and I was able to, of course, you got to be mindful of collateral damage. You can't shoot at the active shooter while there's other kids behind them. They should have a drill. They should have a drill that they practice in school. Get down, back, and away, and behind the officer. I don't consider myself an officer. Just call me a guard. Get the fuck down or behind the guard, okay? Let me do my thing with the Mossberg, okay? They should have a drill. They get out of the way, just like Mike Glover was saying. Having drills and having the mental wherewithal to get clear of danger, okay? Then making sure by contract, said officer or guard, private sector or not, actually reasonably, I'm not saying you have to stand there while the machine gun is going. Of course, you should take cover and take precaution to preserve your own life, because if your life is extinguished, you can't help anybody. Okay, so of course, reasonably speaking, but the thing is having the officer's only MO, his only system of operation or duty there to look out for and circumvent or interdict dire violence, okay? Because being a security guard for like over 10 years, I'll tell you that when things are pretty chill and things are easy, you will have some Karen make your job harder. Where I'm working at, some people are like, oh, aren't you scared, or is it dangerous? I'm like, man, I wish it was scary. I wish it was dangerous as fuck. Not because I'm brave, because that's when you get a pat on your back, you get free donuts, you get people who are grateful for you being there. When things are too code 4 or they're too easy and they're too clear, somebody's wife who has an office, some Karen, is always like, oh, we should have the guards get off their ass and go pick up trash or wipe somebody's ass or scrub the floor or something. They get mad. People get mad when you're sitting there getting fat and your life is too easy, and it makes some guards antisocial. And those guards, they make us serious guards look bad. Like, we've had other guards at this post. Anyways, if there's camera can hear me, they have audio here. I love this job. I'm so grateful for the people who own it. They're a lot cooler than other owners of yesterday or yesteryear. I love my job. I thank God for it, man. It wasn't always that cool. But where was I going at? We've had some guards that were piece of shits that they're only here for an easy job. I don't understand officers that are fresh out of academy. They're only like barely 20 years old and they're doing security or even a real cop or whatever. It's like, dude, go get some life experience. Go break your back. Like learn how it is to. Honestly, I think that they shouldn't have cops or guards who are younger than 30 years old. That's only my opinion. But we've had pieces of shit here where it's like, fool, you just had the luxury of living with your parents for free until you waited for your guard card, your Cracker Jacks box plastic badge to come in the mail, because you want a job where you're doing nothing and you're sitting and eating all day. Like I'm sitting and drinking coffee because everything's code 4. Okay? I can't keep breaking my back. I'm old. I need this job. But you can tell that those kind of people, if shit hits the fan, they're going to run away or they're going to preserve mommy's little biscuit eater. They know they don't really need to dedicate their heart and balls to the job, because at any time if they get laid off or fired, they could just go back and suck mommy's tits and play Call of Duty and play video games and watch Netflix or Pornhub in their mom's basement. But me and the other guard that I want here talking about his experience, who's older than me, our paycheck, our electric bill, our car payment, our alimony or some shit, all is contingent on these jobs. Okay, I'm too flat-footed. I've broken my ankle. I can't run away, man. I'm here as human shield, you know. So I want to like my job, and I want to have Christian love for my clients, the people who I'm guarding their shit. Okay, so you need a security guard who actually fucking cares, right? And again, man, my coworker who's going to relieve me, he's talked about how he's worked at places like banks or where they sold Rolex watches, and they just some of the staff just looks down on him, doesn't say hi. Like the chicks that work there act like they're way too good for him, or if his day is going too easy, they get bored and they try to make him basically the improv janitor or or trash cleaner or some shit like that, man. So security can be a clusterfuck, and it's hard to get a good post. Okay, so but what I'm trying to say is private security barely makes fucking money anyway. So now, because for some reason, I don't know why, they don't have police officers constantly standing guard or patrolling your kids' schools, making a good wage with benefits and all that. I don't know why you have to call the cops and they have to come to your school. There's not enough police. They have to be out on the beat. They have to be out on patrol, making sure that kids aren't hanging out at Radio Shack, or Lazarus, the leper from the Bible, isn't sleeping under your car or eating out of your trash. They're busy doing gentrification patrol for fucking Karen out there, instead of for some fucking reason being constantly present at your kids' schools. So we just, I don't know why the active shooters are getting away with that. So let's exclude the possibility, or the what's that called? The conjecture that cops are at schools or they could be there. So we're confined to private security, okay? So there's my old ass there and my coworker, hopefully, because then you're gonna get at least guards that give a shit. But you don't know if you're hiring some 23-year-old piece of shit that just wants to look buff in his little uniform and talk to the senior girls. And we don't know if you're gonna get some piece of shit that's like, oh, I don't want to break my back, and like my weapon is just for my personal safety because mommy wants me to make it home safe. And if everything bad really happens, I'll just kind of go around the corner and hide and call the cops and pray for the best, because like I'm just here as a visual deterrent. I'm just here to look the part. I'm just here to hopefully scare bad guys away, instead of having any life experience where you had to really bark meth heads off of property. You had to really stand up against somebody trying to pinch your woman's ass. Things that come with time. Things that come with being over 30 years old. Let me see. You have to roll the dice and hope that you get a guard, a private sector guard that actually gives a shit. I don't know why I can't see my own comments. Okay, I'm not trying to be rude or okay, nobody new's commented, but thank you for being here. So since we're confined to private security guarding your schools, I want you guys to take into account that maybe you should hire a middle-aged guard whose paycheck really is valuable to him, a veteran that's perfect, right? And hopefully that you give them a living wage so they give a shit, and you have to give them respect so that they love their clients and they want to put their life on the line. And you can't make them the de facto janitor or de facto conflict manager or the de facto Dr. Phil, because that's what they were doing to my coworker when he was armed security for a bad kid's school, getting spit at and slapped and disrespected, and he's not even allowed to retaliate or give those kids some kind of form of a light ass beating that their dad never did or wasn't present to do. You could get sued, right? You could get sued for putting a kid in check or some shit like that, right? So again, it would have to be that the armed security, their only job is to be alert, to be present, to patrol, okay? And hopefully a living wage so it incentivizes them to care. And then you have to exclude them from doing conflict manager shit. Like, hey, this kid is out of line. You know I'm not allowed to hit him or reprimand him. But hell, by the state law, I'm probably not even allowed to hold him down. I can only hold him down if he's trying to stab somebody. And remember, bad guys always have the first move. They're unpredictable. They've been planning their attack all day long, all night long. So you have to consider these factors of what the guard is getting into, right? He's not allowed to touch the kids anyway. We don't want that mess. We want to be there to protect and preserve life, to look out for, circumvent, or interdict possible dire, deadly danger, right? So it would be that, you know, hopefully more than one guard, because one of the guards is eventually going to have to do a 10-100. That's go to the restroom, take a deuce, right? So you need at least another guard there. Give him a golf cart, give him a freaking pickup truck with a beacon on it to drive around the property, right? Make sure that he gives a shit about getting off his ass and doing the patrols. And if you evidently hired some lazy kid or some fat piece of shit that just wants a job where you're not breaking your back, and then he doesn't deserve that respect. Then he doesn't deserve the honor and the dignity of having the Cracker Jack box, plastic security badge, right? But again, I'm driving this point that my coworker, my relief later, his experience doing armed security for a lot of shit was very stupid. It's almost like you're only there to be a visual deterrent because he got spit on, he got disrespected, he got underpaid, and he's a good guy. He still tried to give a shit. He's like, my whole job was a catch-22. Catch-22 means you're fucked if you do, and you're fucked if you don't. I mean, like, rules don't do shit, and bad guys don't follow them, right? So what can you do? So again, we excluded the possibility of having real police officers patrol and stand guard over your kids' schools, because for some reason the active shooters are getting away with popping so many kids off before police show up, okay? So I think the government, I'm not saying Trump, somebody, George Soros, some globalist piece of shit, is engineering that because they care more about, they don't care about your kids, because it takes officers like 12 minutes or something to show up at your school and get ready and get their Armalites out and do a perimeter or whatever, right? They can't just be there all the time because they're busy doing gentrification patrol. When I went to high school, the only police officer there was gentrification patrol. He was just a truant officer. I mean, had the city police car, the uniform, everything. But he's obviously only there for truancy, to go fetch kids who are ditching school. Like, so I don't know why they can't have real police officers constantly patrolling and standing guard over your kids' schools. So we excluded that. We just, cops don't exist at school, okay? So now you're stuck with private security, and I relayed to you the dilemmas of, it's a fucking coin toss if you get a guard that gives a shit, and even if the guard gives a shit, they can make his job a fucking living hell by making him do stupid shit. You get what I mean? And they're not going to pay him. They're not making as much money as cops. This is the dilemma. And then I also iterated. I thank you for the hearts and the likes, guys. Thank you. God bless you. If they really cared about your kids, then why are police not present at your school so the active shooter can do his thing, so CNN News could blame white people and blame guns, right? But when Cain Velasquez, the UFC champion who lives in California, when his kid gets touched, his kid got touched by some daycare worker piece of shit who goes to jail for 2 days, and he gets released back to his family. And when Cain Velasquez goes to try to fuck him up, Cain Velasquez is facing 20 or 40 years or something like that. So if they really cared about your kids, just think about it. You don't pay your taxes or something, you'll go to prison. But if you touch or fuck with kids, you get a slap on the wrist. You might might have to register for sex offender. But usually those guys, they get an ankle bracelet at work. I mean, they get an ankle bracelet at worst, and they go back and they live with mommy and daddy and play fucking video games and shit like that all day. So I hope you guys understood where I'm coming from, and look out if I can make a part 2 of this and actually interview my coworker coming later. Like, hey man, so you were armed guard, tell us all about it. It sucked, right? So we give a shit, but it's like we're almost not allowed to do our thing or fully give a shit. And I explained all that. So let me look at some comments, and I gotta get on the night, guys, and go walk around or something. don't know why it's not showing me comments, but God bless you, and I thank you for hanging out. But I guess it was valuable time because I'm showing you the dilemma that you guys have. I'm showing you as parents, right? As people who just want to live their life and work and raise kids, and you gotta fight traffic. You gotta focus at your job. You're hoping that your kids are okay. Well, obviously the government doesn't give a shit. I'm done. I'm just gonna make myself more and more pissed off. God bless you. May St. Michael protect all your kids. Keep on rocking the free world. Go USA. Go Trump.